Saddle sores. You're on your way to visit one of your parishioners who lives just way out there. So you turn up the AC, you turn up the radio, you take a big drink of the coffee that you picked up in the drive-thru, and as you're leaving the drive-thru, you look down at the gas gauge to make sure you have enough fuel to make it there and back, so you don't have to bum fuel from them again. While you're looking at the fuel gauge, you notice your odometer is ticked over to 270,000 kilometers. Man, this truck's getting old. Maybe I lost you at the fresh cup of coffee. Your mind is elsewhere already. You're thinking about dropping everything and going, but just bear with me just for a few minutes. Let me give you something to chew on. Recently, I've been reading the biography of Francis Asbury. L.C. Rudolph documents the 40-plus years of ministry in fledgling America in late 1700s, early 1800s. During that time, he notes that Asbury spent close to 300,000 miles in the saddle. You heard that right. 300,000 miles on a horse. For all of you Canadians out there like me, it's 480,000 kilometers. My truck, I don't think, is going to make it that far. I'm pretty sure he wore the legs off a few horses during that time. Or for all you cartographers, that's 12 trips around the earth. Now, replace your heated seat then with a saddle. Replace your AC with windburn or sunburn. Replace instead your coffee and a donut with a powder keg and a pistol in order to hunt for your food while you traveled. That was the ministry of Francis Asbury. John Wesley commissioned Asbury to go and help Thomas Coke with the missionary movement of the Methodists in America. And as he traveled and arrived in Philadelphia in late 1771, he would join that ministry and later become a co-superintendent with Coke in overseeing the ministries of the Methodist movement. During that time, he would travel thousands of miles and preach thousands of sermons. He preached thousands of these sermons all over the place. Rudolph notes in the journal's entries that one of the most common phrases that he saw was, "I preached." He preached everywhere he went. He preached in churches, he preached in homes, he preached in the bars and taverns, he preached in the streets and in the forests. But he preached. He was not a highly educated man, and he was kind of rough and ready, but he was simple. He was a man of prayer. He was humble and dependent on the Lord. And Rudolph emphasizes that he was much more a preacher bent on zeal rather than art. He was definitely not as skillful as many of the other preachers were, but he was powerful and plain. But it wasn't just Asbury's preaching or his horsemanship skills that stand out to me. It was also his organizational skills. During this time as he traveled and preached, he was also commissioning and ordaining close to 4,000 ministers, one of whom was Richard Allen, the first African-American Methodist preacher. These people would be left in his stead to look after areas or districts that it would cover many miles themselves. Asbury would often revisit these places to encourage these ministers and these churches and individuals that he'd met in the way. It sounds very much like Paul. Though he was a pioneer, he would travel back and forth and make the effort to build up the men that he had left in his stead and the churches. So what do we have to learn from a guy like Francis Asbury? First, I would say that whatever you're gifted to do, do it. Not all of us are Francis Asbury, called to put thousands and thousands of miles on. Paul in Romans chapter 12, verse 6 to 8, he talks about us and our gifts, our varied gifts. If it is your gift to serve, then serve. If it is your gift to lead, then lead with zeal, he says, implying that all the other gifts should be used in the same way, with passion and with energy and with excitement. Second of all, I would say that we need to get a little bit organized. As you're coming and going, are you leaving in your wake people who are equipped to do what you are doing? You are not God. You are one servant of God who is called to serve alongside others. So make sure that you're equipping and building up other people, as Ephesians chapter 4 encourages us to do. Third, I would say, let the words I preached be a daily journal entry for you. Let the words of Christ dwell in you richly, Paul told the Colossians. And if that's going to happen, that may the words of our mouth be evidence of the word that is dwelling in us richly. That as we go and as we sit with other people and as we are in the sporting arena or as we are in the restaurant or wherever we are, may the words that come out of our mouth be full of grace. And may they be the Lord's words. Would they tell people of the gospel, of the good news of Jesus Christ, and would we declare that boldly and courageously? Fourth, I would say we need to get in the saddle. We need to start putting some miles on and going to the places where the people are. People who are hurting, people who are lost. We need to somehow get out of our own bubbles. And we need to get in the saddle a little more often. But this may mean some saddle sores.